Hello everyone. Welcome to Christmas at Craigdarroch, a Christmas like no other. So we often think, well, what did the Dunsmuirs do at Christmas? Well, there's not much information, but there's a few little bits and pieces that we can put together to build a picture. The Dunsmuir daughters made gifts that they sold at the bazaar down at Christchurch Cathedral. This is recorded in the newspaper. The girls involved were these. Here's Jessie, Effie, and Margaret Harvey, their niece. The picture was taken when the girls were with their mother in Europe during the months that followed the death of Robert Dunsmuir in April of 1889. Now, there are stories associated with the family that come to us that are very good. This picture shows the famed MacDonald sisters. These are the granddaughters of Elizabeth Hamilton Dunsmuir and John Bryden. They lived on a farm in North Saanich, and they recalled very good times with their great-aunt Mary at Mount Adelaide, the Dunsmuir house at Victoria's, or rather Esquimau's, West Bay, just on the inner harbour. Catherine Harvey, who was a diminutive woman, told me personally that she and her sisters went to a Christmas party one year at Mount Adelaide, and while the adults were partying in an adjoining room, they started sliding down Mary's huge staircase on silver platters. They were caught and sent to bed, and then later they couldn't sleep because they heard a commotion in the hallway. They got up to look, and all the adults were sliding down the staircase on silver platters. So that's pretty funny. Those girls played with some very nice furniture, doll furniture, that we have in our collection. Let's take a look at it. So here is a later picture of the MacDonald sisters. And these sisters gave the Castle Society this amazing collection of doll furniture. They got it from their mother, and their mother got it from her grandmother, Joan Olive Dunsmuir. So this furniture was played with by all of the Dunsmuir daughters, and remember, there were 8 of them. It was used in Nanaimo while the family lived there. It's beautiful. Probably teak. We haven't tested the wood, but it's quite nice, as you can see. And we have the whole setup here as though it was done by children on Christmas Day. So it's best viewed from your hands and knees when you come to visit the castle. Let's have a look at another interesting toy. Well, here's little Dermot de Trafford, one of Joan Olive Dunsmuir's great-grandsons. He later became Sir Dermot de Trafford, and the baronetcy started up in the Manchester area. Now you'll see that he has this dog in the picture. It's a French papier-mâché dog, and we have a similar example here that the Castle Society acquired about 3 or 4 years ago. It looks a bit like a bobblehead. You see how its head beautifully balances on a pivot point. There are wheels under its feet. And if you have a good close look at his face, I'm going to show you something else that it does. Look at this. Sounds like a real dog. A wonderful thing. Let's go into the dining room and see some things there. So in 1890, Mrs. Dunsmuir moved into Craigdarroch with Jessie, Effie, Maud, and her grandchildren, Elizabeth Georgina Harvey and Robert Dunsmuir Harvey. Well, Elizabeth Harvey was nicknamed Noel because she was born on Christmas Day. And in 1899, while she was living at Craigdarroch, her brother, James Swan Harvey, gave her this lovely little set of common prayer and hymns, boxed set, and it's inscribed, Noel with love, Mabel and Jim, Xmas 1899. And there is Noel's name engraved on that little silver plaque. It's a beautiful little thing. Now, we've had a wonderful year of gifting from family members. And just 2 months ago, we were given a large number of silver frames that had been owned by various Dunsmuir family members. The donor is a Bryden descendant, and we have a lot of things from the Bryden family. This frame is inscribed here, MJC, for Mary Jean Croft, who was Mary Jean Dunsmuir. And this picture is a copy of one at the Library and Archives Canada, probably shot in 1882 or 3. Also, this is a silver frame given by the Bryden descendant. And we put into this a photograph, a copy of a photograph that is at the home Turin, the residence of Kristen and Andrea Jameson, who are great-granddaughters of Jessie Dunsmuir. And this is Jessie Dunsmuir with her husband, Sir Richard Musgrave, Baronet. They had an 8,000-acre estate, and it's still in the family today. Now, Jessie and Sir Richard used the cigarette box that I'm about to show you. And here it is. I'm picking it up off the table. It's a lovely little thing. And look how it has wheels. This would allow you to push it along the table after dinner when you wanted to have a cigarette. And Sir Richard and Jessie did smoke cigarettes. Here's a little Vesta on the top to hold matches. The front and back is serrated so that the match could strike. And there, I think that's probably walrus hide on the bottom. Hallmark silver with Sir Richard's family crest on the top. Well, just look at this wonderful dessert set, given to us a couple of years ago by a Bryden descendant. Mother of pearl handles, silver and silver plated. Beautiful top there with quilted satin, velvet lined, just the sort of thing that Craigdarroch would have had. And it's the sort of thing that we're collecting for display both in the dining room and in the pantry, which is part of our major kitchen and pantry restoration project. The last thing I want to show you is this wonderful book, The Girl's Own Annual. This was given by Mrs. Dunsmuir to her young friend Nora Kuhn. Here's the inscription. Nora from Mrs. Dunsmuir, Craigdarroch, Xmas 1906. This book eventually left Nora's hands and found its way into various public hands, and it looks like it was a school board textbook for a little while, but we acquired it from an Oak Bay antique store many years ago. I was lucky enough to meet Nora's son, the late Pat Patterson, and he told me that his mother used to visit Mrs. Dunsmuir on a regular basis. She lived on Rockland Avenue. Her parents were friends of Mrs. Dunsmuir, but obviously Nora and Mrs. Dunsmuir had a separate friendship. And Nora told her son that she would come here to see Mrs. Dunsmuir riding a mule. And she would see Mrs. Dunsmuir in the sitting room where they had a nice visit. And at the end of most visits, Mrs. Dunsmuir stood up, thrust her hand deeply into an opening in her skirt and pulled out a purse, whereupon she produced a sovereign, a gold sovereign, and gave it to Nora. A touching story for Christmas at Craigdarroch. Thank you very much for visiting us here this way at Christmas, and we look forward to seeing you next year.